I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lead Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like you got a little.
No, my camera's broke.
Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? Tampa Tones here on the Buccateers. We're going to be joined by the great J-Lo very shortly here as well on a Wednesday. Yes, we're coming at you guys on a Wednesday, as we usually come 2 days after a game, which is usually Taco Tuesday when we play on a Sunday. But since we played Monday night, here we are on a Wednesday. We got so much to get into tonight. Live on the Buccateers. Got a lot of good stuff to talk about. Joined by Celsius. Always good to keep you energized. But we got the great J-Lo coming in to talk all things Bucs here very shortly soon as well. Obviously, it was more than a loss on Monday game-wise. We lost a couple of key cogs for the Bucs lineup as well. We'll get into the update on those guys. The Buccaneers did sign a wide receiver today. For those looking for wide receiver help, we did make a move. We did make a signing. Help is on the way here in short order for the Bucs. Not a huge name, but depth is depth. And also, we get an IR wide receiver back potentially as soon as this week. We got new Creamsicle clothes dropping this week for the Bucs at their home shop in Raymond James Stadium on their team store website and on more websites as well. So we're going to get into all that here and so much more on the Buccateers. As Olivia joins, saying love the hat. Thank you. The new Crucial Catch hat. That's this year's Crucial Catch hat, the 2024 Sideline Edition. They got a couple different types every year. I always make sure to get myself a Crucial Catch hat because fuck cancer. Cancer is a son of a gun, and if I could help honor cancer, I will. The fight against cancer, that is. And I do that every year by buying Crucial Catch hats. Once in a while, I'll buy a hoodie and so forth. But thank you, Olivia, for that. Speaking of that, Creamsicle week. That's why I'm in Creamsicle. Some might be wondering why the hell is this guy in Creamsicle? Because the week is here where the Buccaneers now don their throwbacks, their lovely Creamsicle uniforms once every season. And we try and pick a game with a lot of prestige, with some bitter rivalry to it. And, you know, the Bucs have to determine these things before the year starts, when the schedule comes out. And you looked around the schedule, wasn't a ton of great candidates for this Creamsicle game, because usually the Creamsicles are worn against an old-time foe. And for those unfamiliar, old-time foes mean NFC Central way back when the Bucs were in the NFC Central with the Bears, the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings. Those are really what you consider the Bucs' old-time rivals, which would warrant a Creamsicle game. You know, the Saints, Falcons, Panthers, they are rivals too, but they're not Creamsicle rivals. They're different eras. Panthers just became a squad in the 90s. Saints and Falcons just became Bucs rivals when we moved to the NFC South in the late 90s, early 2000s. So you look at the OG rivalries, and usually when the Packers come to town, that's always a Creamsicle option. When the Lions come to town, like last season, that's a Creamsicle option. Bears, Vikings, those teams as well. None of those teams came to Tampa Bay. This is a rare season where we only have one game against the NFC North, and that's the Bears division. You got all those four teams. So usually we play more than one of them. This year it's just one of them, and it's on the road. So you can't wear Creamsicles on the road. You can't turn Ray J into the old sombrero on the road. So it really led to a couple of games, and that's why when the schedule came out way back when, many, many months ago, if you look in the springtime at the Buccateers, we came out with a schedule release show prominenting, highlighting all the big time jersey wears this year, all the themed games, the crucial catch game, the salute to service game, the rut out, creamsicles, and so forth. And when we narrowed the schedule down, I really only thought there were a couple possibilities for this game. One of them was September 29th against the Eagles. I'd say that game was an option because obviously we have a long history with the Eagles, a long rivalry with the Eagles, and that didn't happen. I also circled December 8th against the Raiders. Not that we wore creamsicles a year of the Super Bowl, but maybe since it's a old-time game, old-time feel, old-school feel, the Bucs beat them in the Super Bowl, I thought maybe the creamsicles would have returned then. That didn't quite happen. So all in all, fast forward, boom, creamsicles against the Falcons, October 27th. That is this Sunday. And ironically enough, when I went to Bucs Falcons a couple Thursdays ago in Atlanta, the Falcons happened to be wearing their throwback jerseys. So I did some research and whatnot. And the Bucs, of course, came out with the throwback game first on the schedule. We circled the throwback game on the schedule first. We said, hey, we're wearing these throwbacks against Atlanta on the 27th. As my man Richard T. Happy Taco Tuesday, Tones. Same to you, Richard. Love you, brother. Hope all is well. It's been a while. Hope the loss of Godwin, the loss of Evans, the loss of Tyke Smith, and the loss on Monday night isn't haunting you too bad. But we're going to get some therapy in here when J-Lo joins us shortly on why we shouldn't be worried about the Bucs. But the creamsicle, so we announced that we were wearing them against the Falcons October 27th. What did Atlanta do, as petty as they are? They announced that their throwback game this year was Thursday, October 3rd on Thursday Night Football. Wow, already going to be 3 weeks ago tomorrow. So kind of funny. The Bucs and Falcons both wear their throwbacks once a year. And this year, Bucs are wearing them at home against the Falcons this Sunday. And the Falcons wore theirs at home against the Buccaneers on Amazon Prime, led Thursday Night Football on October 3rd. And here we are. That kind of goes to show the current state of the rivalry. Bucs Falcons heating up. Both are 4-3 heading into this matchup. Both had troubling losses this past weekend. We'll get into those losses as well as the Seahawks went into Atlanta, and in the Battle of the Birds, they upended the Falcons. Not only they beat the Falcons on the road, but they manhandled the Falcons on the road, out of their time zone, out of their element, and so forth. And then Monday Night Football strolls along, doubleheader. Vibes are high. Felt like a damn playoff game, if you ask me. Radio-wise, Tampa-wise, crowd-wise, and then the result happened, and we lost more than a game. What I mean by we lost more than a game, obviously all of you know by now, but sadly, Tyke Smith had a concussion. He's been playing really good. Our rookie defensive back from Georgia. He's kind of been our one-all, be-all, the Christian Izzy in evolution, kind of the same type of player. Izzy's phenomenal as well, but Tyke Smith has been that good this year. As Christopher Cole says, such a depressing loss in more ways than one. We're going to talk about that and why you got to flip the page forward. So you lost Tyke Smith. You lost the game. Then a couple drives into the game, you lost superstar future first ballot Hall of Famer Mike Evans. And at the very end of the game, the tail of the game, you lost superstar wide receiver, former Penn State wide receiver, Chris Godwin for the season. Evans will be hopefully returning after the bye week. Godwin is done for the season. I'd say Tyke Smith is back next week on Monday Night Football with the Chiefs as you get an extra day to rest as well. But we've seen concussions be a problem this year. We've seen hamstrings be a problem this year. Richard says advantage for the Bucs is Falcons don't know or otherwise. Yes. Marv Albert. Yes. Richard, you are so right, though. And I was going to allude to this point as well. And that's the conversation I was having with my pops, with my brother. I was like, hey, obviously we're down two really good wide receivers. But what this does, as we faced only 2.5, 3 weeks ago, is it creates a totally different game plan, a totally different element of football that you bring to the table if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And Liam Cohen's done an incredible job calling plays this year. Sean Tucker's bursting onto the scene. Rashad White looked very well in his return last week, scoring a couple of touchdowns. Bucky Irving has looked tremendous. So what the Bucs are going to do, and Cade Otton looked really good as well. By the way, Cade Otton, every catch he made last week as he went over 100 yards, he got beaten, he got battered, he got thrown around. Hats off to Otton. I don't know how some of those weren't flags, personal fouls, and whatnot, but zebras being zebras. But between the tight end room and the running back room, a lot of these guys are going to get involved. And then, oh, by the way, people are pretty unfamiliar with Jalen McMillan, rookie wide receiver from Washington. Sterling Shepard brings an element of familiarity. Yes, Baker doesn't have Godwin. He doesn't have Evans. But he does have a familiar piece with Sterling Shepard. And Shepard, you could tell his snaps were reduced last game, probably because his 3 penalties in New Orleans, and Todd Bowles voiced his displeasure there, probably because Trey Palmer was back and probably because Jalen McMillan was 1 week healthier from his hamstring. But yes, you still have veteran Sterling Shepard. Then you got Ryan Miller. Ryan Miller didn't really do much last week, obviously didn't play because you had Evans, because you had Godwin, because you had Palmer, you had McMillan. So Miller wasn't needed, but let's remember 1 week ago against the Saints, Ryan Miller, the second-year undrafted free agent rookie wide receiver, formerly a tight end out of Furman, was really acclimated against the Saints at his first career catch and run, and that catch and run went for 40, 50 yards or so, and Ryan Miller helped electrify that offense. And then we know the news, Cameron Johnson's on IR right now. Guess who might be returning from IR this week, Bucs fans? Or if not this week, Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. Not that he's great, but we got another ace in the hole, Rakim Jarrett. Rakim Jarrett does return this week or next, as his 3-week practice window is open last week. And you must return in 3 weeks or else you're out for the whole season. So the Bucs have Sterling Shepard to promote some familiarity with Baker Mayfield. And then you got the young elements with Palmer, McMillan, and Ryan Miller. You got a really good running back room. You got 3 running backs who are capable of carrying the team a little bit. And then you got a tight end room with 4 competent tight ends. And oh, by the way, today, the Bucs signed a wide receiver. Many of you are looking for the big name wide receiver. Many of you are looking around saying, who do the Bucs sign? I didn't hear anything. That's because it's an under-the-radar signing. But they did agree to the practice squad with former Western Illinois wide receiver, former Dallas Cowboy wide receiver, and former New York Giants wide receiver, Dennis Houston. Houston's only 25 years old, 6'1", 198 pounds, couple career receptions in the NFL, ran into some legal issues at college, but now here he is on the Bucs, and he was with the Giants this preseason, so it's not like he's really rusty. Again, they're adding bodies to the picture without losing draft compensation and without spending a lot of money. Now, that's not to go say the Bucs won't go out and trade for a guy. One of the potentials were DeAndre Hopkins. He got moved earlier today to Kansas City. But this just means Dennis Houston is a short-term depth body piece to at least help fill out the roster and practice squad this week. Now, for those asking, Chris, I do see your comment. We'll get to that here shortly. But for those asking who's even available at this point, DeAndre Hopkins was moved. Amari Cooper was moved. We've seen a couple of other guys get moved as well, including another big name, Devontae Adams, to the Jets. Well, here's my wish list. It might not be realistic in totality, but here are some names that may, quote unquote, be available or that Jason Light, quote unquote, may check in on. Then we're going to get into the Creamsicle game, new Creamsicle merch for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, brought to you by our friends, releasing tomorrow, and so much more. But you guys are live here on the Buccateers. Tampa Tones here. Should be joined by the great J-Lo. Not sure what the hell happened, but, you know, things happen in life. He should be here shortly. Here's a list of why. Speaking of the great J-Lo, how the hell you doing, brother? Just telling the guys that you will be here any minute. And here you are, my friend. Long time no talk. How are you?
Good, my man. Sorry for running late. You know, I'm not the magic man. Now you see me, now you don't.
Hey, man, that happens. I was just telling people that things happen in life. I was running late today as well. We do apologize for kicking off the program about 10 minutes late or so, but J-Lo and Tones here now. J-Lo, I was catching the people up. Dennis Houston signed with the Bucs today to kind of shore up the wide receiver room, just to catch you up to speed. We're, talking about the wide receivers and how they're handling themselves, the young guys, and what the Bucs are going to do. Now I'm going to name some realistic options, which I don't think the Bucs necessarily do, but here are some options. If the Bucs say they lose to the Falcons this week, they're going to have to dip into one of these names. Again, might not be realistic, but here's a list that I constructed. Cooper Kupp, probably not going to happen, but we've heard his name in rumors. Jacoby Myers on the Raiders. I'm very intrigued with this because we already seen them trade Devontae Adams, and it seems like the Raiders are punting. Jacoby Myers is a top Raiders receiver at this point, not including Brock Bowers, so he intrigues me. DeAndre Hopkins, we talked about him earlier. He went to the Chiefs. Mike Williams, if the Bucs are looking to move on acquire a veteran wide receiver and the Jets are willing to move on from Mike Williams after the Devontae Adams trade, that could be a good cheap option. Kendrick Bourne on the Patriots, he had 1,000 yards just a couple seasons back. He might only cost a late round pick. Elijah Moore on the Cleveland Browns, he just got traded to them not too long ago, but hey, if they're already trading Amari Cooper, who's to know where it stops? And Gabe Davis, but I don't think the Jaguars are in sell mode yet, as they're trying to win every game to save their coach and management. And then some free agent names I like: Hunter Renfrow, Corey Davis. Don't even get me started on Michael Thomas. But J-Lo, before we get to a couple questions here, any of those names intrigue you? And do you think the Bucs make another move at wide receiver after they signed former Cowboy and Giants wide receiver Dennis Houston a couple hours ago?
From what it looks like they're going to go with what we have for this Sunday, kind of evaluate the young group we have out of Trey Palmer and McMillan, and of course the veteran Shepard. You know, from what Baker Mayfield, Todd Bowles, press conferences, it sounds like they're kind of confident what they got, which is fine. Don't get me wrong. I think they're going to focus more on the run game, but if we end up losing to the Falcons, I think Light's going to have to make a move. You're going to have to bring in somebody. Maybe not Cooper Kupp, which most of us fans would love to have, but the cost and asking price is just probably too high for what Light's liking. But Jacoby Myers, Bourne, Elijah Moore, some of these vets, you could probably get on a reasonable trade in the mid round, kind of like what DeAndre Hopkins got traded for. So we'll have this wait and see game. I don't see them making any moves this week. I think depending on how we do against our division, probably next week will be the most likely target to where we might make a move. You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Hey, man, thank you for saying that. I don't know what the hell. I think I cracked open my Celsius, so I didn't want to make that big pop noise. But thank you to my sidekick, J-Lo, there. That's why we love having him around. But, J-Lo, I think you bring up a couple of good points. And specifically, the best point you brought up is this is simply a smell test week against the Falcons, how our wide receiver room shapes up. And I've seen people freaking out that we signed Dennis Houston. Oh, guys, that's a smart move because it shores up a body on a practice squad. And although it's brief, he does have NFL experience. So it's very cheap. He's likely not going to play as a Buck on the active roster. But at the end of the day, it's to fill practice squad depth. Again, remember, Cody Thompson went on the practice squad IR from earlier this year. Canoe's around, but he's on the practice squad. Maybe elevate him. Maybe this week. We'll see. But J-Lo, it's time to get to a couple questions now. Christopher Cole says Tom Moore told the Bucs not to pull the starters because he said anything can happen, and then Bowles is going to pull the starters. J-Lo, this does stem back, before we get to Richard T., from a game way back when in 2003, 21 seasons ago. J-Lo, the Colts came to town. Tom Moore was a member of the Indianapolis Colts coaching staff at that point in time. The Bucs were up 3 scores very late in that game. Tony Dungy, the head coach of the Colts at the time, said, hey, I'm going to pull the starters. It's like 5 minutes to go. We're down 3 scores. Tom Moore said, hey, you are not pulling the starters. Anything can happen. What happened, J-Lo? Well, Colts came back. Miraculous comeback. Biggest comeback I could remember against our Bucs in that little of time. And the Colts won that game. All these years later, Tom Moore has the same mentality. And he is not wrong, J-Lo. I do not blame the coaching staff. I do not blame Tom Moore. I do not blame anybody for Chris Godwin being in that game in that point of time, J-Lo. Godwin was 100% healthy going into that final drive. B, you're down 2 possessions, and you already successfully recovered 1 onside kick. Never say never for a second. And C, J-Lo, Chris Godwin is a true competitor, a warrior, a fighter. This guy's the last guy, along with number 13, Mike Evans. But we're going to get into that here shortly as well. But Chris Godwin is the last guy that wants to come off that field. And a guy like Baker Mayfield, a guy like Todd Bowles, they think they could win all the time. The last thing Baker wants to do is take himself out of a game. J-Lo, thoughts on the Godwin situation? Again, I can't blame the coaches for this injury like a lot of people are, sadly.
No, people got to remember, Todd Bowles is a player's coach at first. He's a guy who's going to talk to the players on the injuries when they're injured or they're not feeling right, asking them, are you feeling okay to go in, along with team doctors. It's a team effort. It was a gamble on all sorts, but from coaches, the player, team doctors, and unfortunately injuries happen. And like you said, competitor, that's the biggest term right now for this team. They compete. That's what they do. That's what they get paid for, to go out there and compete to the best of their abilities. It was very unfortunate with Chris Godwin. I wish him a speedy recovery. But some of these fans are going to have to realize you can't put it all on Bowles. Bowles, he's a guy who's going to talk to the players and let them play. He's not going to pull them and bench them unless they cry wolf, kind of like what happened to Mike Evans, which we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah, and J-Lo, I'm just looking at memories right now. 1 year ago today, me, you, and our buddy E-Mod were hanging out in Tampa right here for Falcons Bucs week last year in Tampa, and the Bucs fell to the Falcons that game, and we were a lot healthier in that game. So fans can't look at the Falcons here and say, hey, we're going to automatically hit a home run and win this game. We all seen what happened last year. I was at that game last year. Devin White looked lost out there and whatnot. Richard says, I've heard other former head coaches like Ron Rivera. Absolutely, Richard. And if you go through the NFL this year, the Bucs are not the only team to have their wide receivers in this late of the game. The Seahawks have had their starting guys out there. The Cardinals, the Colts. A lot of teams have had their starting guys, their starting wide receivers out there with a couple minutes left in a 2-score game. So the Bucs are not the only team. Ron Rivera said he would have kept the guys out there. We've seen miraculous comebacks before. And again, I'll put that to rest. Chris Godwin, you can't blame the coaches for that. Is Roquan being penalized? The NFL is actually looking into it, Richard, and he's likely to be fined. Now, what fucking pisses me off with this, part of my French, a fine does nothing for the Bucs. A fine does nothing. Nothing. I mean, we lose Godwin for the year because of a semi-dirty illegal hit, and all this guy gets is a measly fine. If anything, there has to be a penalty, like the NFL said they would do, but clearly missed that one. What else is new? If anything, there has to be maybe a 1-game suspension. Or J-Lo, these guys aren't going to learn. And the refs aren't going to catch every hip drop just yet, J-Lo. But it pisses me off, J-Lo. Every single time Godwin gets a big injury, it seems to be a dirty hit.
Yeah, I mean, it's just really messed up that the NFL is not catching this, especially when you got players like Chris Godwin, who is just a warrior and just a great overall person in the locker room. And they've missed, already 2 big penalties at that's derailing his career. They got to step it up. I say player suspension. Maybe suspend them a couple of games. I mean, maybe that's the only way these players are going to get the fact that they cannot hit tackle because it injures players. But at the same time, I don't know. These refs have missed a lot. I mean, I can't just say on those two Godwin plays, but in general, they miss on some of these big hits and stuff that players get away with. I think fine is not good enough. I think suspension should be the next step to teach these players, especially veterans like Raekwon Smith, that you can't be tackling like that. That's
You
all I can
cannot
really
be
say about that.
you cannot be tackling like that at all, J-Lo. And again, new rules, so these guys are unfamiliar with it. But the only way to make people stop doing that is by punishing him a little bit. And a 50,000, a 10,000, however much the fine isn't going to be worth enough for what Godwin's injury cost the Bucs. Richard says, I hate the game. My friends I was with who are Raiders fans were all happy. Richard, then your friends aren't smart football fans. I know the Raiders don't have a high chance at making the playoffs, but we all know the rule. We all know the damn rule. You root against your conference. What if the Raiders and Ravens, again, very unlikely, but what if they end up in a tiebreaker by one game? Are your Raiders friends going to be happy then when if the Bucs beat the Ravens, the Raiders would have been in the playoffs? I don't think so. So, Richard, I know you're a very smart gentleman. Just tell your Raiders fans friends out there to maybe tune up a little bit and understand that, hey, if you're an AFC fan, you root against the AFC. If you're an NFC fan, I know the old Super Bowl rivalries and whatnot, but Cleve and me checking in. What up, fam? Just got done with my wrestling show. Now I'm all in. All in like the AEW pay-per-view. Thanks for waiting for me, jackass, to record. But hey, it's all good. It is all good, my guy. Now I could go on further and further with the Buccateers. If for those that don't know, I do a part-time wrestling podcast as well, Cleve and me. I'm on there most of the time, but I'd say part-time just because I can't say I'm on there 100% of the time. But we talk all things wrestling, AEW, WWE, Impact, everything wrestling. Find us at Cleve and Me. Cleve and Me says, I would personally trade a 6-rounder for Mike Williams. J-Lo, I like that idea. I don't hate that idea. The Jets are probably looking to get rid of him. However, if I were to prefer one guy, I would prefer Jacoby Myers a little bit over Mike Williams. What say you?
I mean, you can't go wrong with that because it's not costing a lot to get him.
I think a 6th or 7th would get Mike Williams. Yeah. I really do.
It would, either him or Jacoby Myers. I know he's coming back from an injury. I think he's been injured the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, I would take either one. It just really depends on how they perform Sunday, like I mentioned earlier. I think right now they want to focus on their own, who knows the playbook. And we would trade for them right now. They wouldn't be ready for Sunday. So, really, they wouldn't be able to help contribute for Sunday. So I would take either one. I think a 6 round's more doable for a veteran player like a Mike Williams, Jacoby Myers, But obviously the real big picture is for most Bucs fans, for what I've seen on social media, is obviously Cooper Kupp. But I just don't see giving up a 2nd rounder for a talent like that. Let's not forget he's coming back from an injury too.
And he's not a spring chicken either, J-Lo.
No, he's not. I mean, he does know the system. The best I would do for a Cooper Kupp, since we're on the subject on trading draft picks, the most I would get is maybe a 3rd and a 6th. That's the best you're going to get out of me for Cooper Kupp because he's going to be obviously a 1-year rental, and get up a 2nd is just too rich for, a rental like that, unless he's going to stay a little bit longer. But it's either going to be him or Godwin in the offseason. And if I'm a betting man, Light's going to go for Godwin, because he would be the cheaper price because he's injured. But that's another discussion with the Godwin situation. But to me, I feel like Mike Williams is more realistic. The question is, how much left does he have in the tank? He's very injury prone, and he's been struggling in the Jets offense, not getting the ball. That's why they went to a guy like Devontae Adams, because they can't wait on Mike Williams. New York is a very impatient place to be at. So, but we'll see. I mean, I wouldn't say no to it. I wouldn't.
Yeah, and we are live on the Buccateers on YouTube. on other outlets as well. We're live on Facebook. You could catch a replay on Apple, Spotify, Google, and so much more. As J-Lo Tampa Tones here talking the tragic injuries we faced, talking other things Bucs as well. We got our guy Christian Ruiz in the building. We love Ruiz. Welcome in, welcome back. Cleve and me says prayers out to Godwin. I agree with that. Sadly, we do have to send our prayers to Godwin as he's likely out for the year. But hey, we've heard likely out for the year before. Then we've seen Ryan Jensen play. Then we've seen Vita Vea play. So never say never. If we make a deep playoff run, I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a little sprinkle of Godwin in there, J-Lo.
No, I mean, Godwin, it may not be over. I mean, depending if we make a playoff run, but right now it's too soon to tell. But luckily, it's looking like it's going to be a successful injury to where he could possibly be back for the postseason. But it's a wait and see situation.
Agreed. Wait and see situation for better or for worse. And we really do hope a speedy recovery to
Yes.
Godwin. That's the most important thing. God bless Chris Godwin, him and his family. He's worked
He's
so
such a
damn hard.
professional. I mean, not to cut you off, Tones, but he's
Guys
such a
like him and
professional.
Aiden Hutchinson, you hate to see this type of stuff happen.
Exactly, especially two real professionals like that who just focus and play the game. Yeah, everybody wants a nice payday. Everyone does. But the way they handle it is just true profession. And those are players I would want to pay when it comes down to it. That's just, we're very lucky with the players we have on our team, as far as, focus on the game and not being so money hungry.
Couldn't agree more. And the comments are pouring in, texts are pouring in, Pops texting. Thank you, Pops, for texting into the program. Says, I know the knee-jerk reaction would be to get a Cooper Cup or the like, but the short-term gain would offset the long-term game, in my opinion. So I'm only in favor of another veteran, lower-profile wide receiver, 6th or 7th round pick, trade-wise, and re-sign Godwin as a free agent. Just my 2 cents, but we will build through the draft and take care of our long-term guys. Culture is most important to me. I think we both agree with that, J-Lo. That's kind of what we were talking about with the Cooper Cup thing. It kind of creates a short-term real good fix, but a long-term kind of makes it a little mucky as well. Richard says, sorry, Tones, I was referring to Colts Bucks. That makes sense. My apologies, Richard. Maybe it's me, man. I had my mic on mute. I was running late. Now I'm misinterpreting comments, but we just beat the Raiders in the Super Bowl the year before that. So I could see why your buddies would be a little angry with the Bucs. Clock 5 white. I'd like to see more use of the strongest position groups, running backs and tight ends. That's what I was alluding to earlier as well, J-Lo, before you joined the program. I said this week is going to be interesting with the Bucs tight end room, running back room. You have 4 tight ends. You have 3 running backs, J-Lo. I think we're going to see a collimation of all these guys at some point come Sunday against Atlanta, 1 o'clock Eastern in the Creamsicle battle.
Well, I definitely expect to see a lot more running the ball, give the ball to, of course, doing the buck and tuck, run, give them the ball. You put Rashad out as a slot receiver maybe, or put them, they can do so many things with these 3 running backs to help, create headaches to these defensive coordinators. And I'll be there live Sunday. I'll be there at the Creamsicle game for the first time in my wonderful Bucs fandom at a Creamsicle game. So I'm looking forward to it. I think this is a very winnable game, which we'll get into. But I think we'll see a lot of run plays. Even Bowles mentioned the press conference that they're kind of tweaking a little bit, to get Palmer and McMullen involved more compared to what Mike and Chris did. But I expect a lot of run plays. I think Bucky ran the ball pretty well, and so did Tucker. It's just we got behind so early, we just had to stop running the ball and keep throwing it. That's what any team would do when you're down by 2 or 3 scores. You're going to have to keep throwing the ball, when you're down by that many. So I think we'll have a way better outcome running the ball, creating run lanes, which is a beauty because that helps relief for Baker Mayfield. And plus a 2 tight end set, man. I mean, Payne Durham, I know, is still bound in injury, but Devin Culp, I'm excited to see what that kid can do, as tight end 2. Maybe move him out to the outside as well. You never know. I mean, Liam Cohen, this is his chance to shine. and show what he can really do coaching without 2-star receivers.
And I do have a quick announcement while we're in the middle of it. Creamsicle week is right around the corner, J-Lo. We are gearing up for creamsicles. And what a better way to gear up with creamsicles by buying some new merchandise. Attention Buccaneers fans, an 8-piece creamsicle collection by Duvin Design will be available this Thursday. Yes, tomorrow, Duvin Design, our friends over at Duvin Design, are releasing a very creative 8-piece creamsicle collection that is going to release 10 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Pacific Time, and you could find all this great merchandise at the main team shop at Raymond James Stadium. If you live local, just get in your car, go to the pro shop at Raymond James Stadium, and get yourself some Duvin Design Creamsicle Collection gear. You don't want to miss it. It looks incredible. It'll also be available online at shop.buccaneers.com and at duvindesign.com. Duvin Design, where our friends take the extra mile to make sure fans are geared up correctly. J-Lo, I don't know if you've seen any of the JC Allen box release, but man, these Duvin Designs are really fire in this collection. This creamsicle collection looks like it could be game-changing. They started with the Dolphins. Now they're getting into the Bucs. Duvin Design, they do it right, J-Lo. They just do.
I've been hearing about it. I definitely got a little more into it, but that definitely sounds fantastic. If you're a real fan of the creamsicle throwbacks, I mean, that's very exciting. Definitely have to look in online. I can't go to the team store, but I can definitely look online, check it out. For anybody that doesn't have any creamsicle gear or collectibles, I mean, like Tone said, I mean, check it out. I mean, I would jump all over it. I know some fans don't care for the creamsicles, but but we're pretty realists here. When it comes to what we like, and that sounds very intriguing. I'm definitely gonna look into it.
Yeah, they got a lot of cool gear. It did real well across the land with the Miami Dolphins. Now they're releasing Bucs merchandise, and J-Lo, you don't want to miss it. It looks pretty reasonable. Price. I assume it's like the Dolphins gear price wise, so it's pretty reasonable as well. Once again, our friends at Duvin Design Co. You could keep up with them on Twitter at Duvin Design, DUVINDESIGN. Keep up with them on Instagram at DUVIN. Once again, Duvin Design, where they make the best designs for the best teams, and that's the Bucs. And their 8-piece creamsicle collection becomes available 10 a.m. Eastern Time tomorrow at the team store, at buccaneershop.com, or at duvindesigns.com. Duvin, they do it great. Pops text in. Great stuff. He's going to check it out. That is awesome. El Monito's joining us live on Facebook as well. So a lot of stuff's cooking here in the 813. Speaking of cooking, Cleveland Me says my reasoning on Mike Williams is he is big body type like Evans. Yep, that's why we like Will too. And again, he will be cheaper because they just got Devontae Adams, and he hasn't really had a great rapport with Aaron Rodgers. Mike Williams, that is, left my ass off. Tones, busy, need you next week. I'll be there for Crown Jewel. Maybe J-Lo could join us for Crown Jewel predictions as well. J-Lo, here we have a question. What are the odds Evans sits out until after the bye? They haven't IR'd him yet, so it seems like a possibility that he comes back sooner. That's from our great friend Christian Ruiz. J-Lo, I'll let you get the first crack at that, then I'll give my thoughts and answer.
From what we gathered, I believe it was reported early this morning that he was having an MRI done today. So we should know by tomorrow the severity on how bad the injury is. From what Todd Bowles said, it was like a moderate, like a hamstring strain. So unfortunately, those take time to heal. I definitely don't expect him back until after the bye week. I'm aiming for week 12 against the New York Giants. But if he's not ready, do not rush him. I know his 1,000 yards are in jeopardy, but this man has went through a lot of pain that last game. If you saw the look and the screaming he was doing when he was on the ground, you can tell he was feeling it. and I just have a gut feeling it might take a little bit longer, but hopefully I'm wrong. We should know by tomorrow whether he gets put on IR for 4 weeks, which is to me most likely to happen, just because they want to be safe and than sorry. And Nets man up. That's pretty much what we can hope for this week is Nets man up, and and wish Mike the best, speedy recovery. He's done
Yeah,
so much.
we do have interesting other question as well, but real quick here before we get to it, because Richard just brought up a really good point, and we got to put some silly rumors to rest here. Obviously, it's Bucs land, so there's always filled with rumors. So, J-Lo, when do you think Evans is back? If you had to predict, what would you say?
I think I mentioned week 12 against the Giants.
I think so
Realistically,
too.
he's a warrior. He'll fight through the pain. But I think, a good 4 weeks off should help, him heal. If not, then definitely the following week. Because, like I said, Mike isn't your average player. He will fight through those injuries because he wants to help his team win football games. That's what he does. That's why he's so respected around the Tampa community. Maybe not as much in the NFL, but here in Tampa, he's very respected for his toughness and his contributions to the team and the community.
That would mean he has about 7 games to get 630 receiving yards to equate to his 1,000 yard streak. But yeah, Ruiz, I think you'll get him back against the Giants, and then he has a nice little schedule to come back against the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, all teams we could take advantage of. Richard says, "What about on defense? Britt not a fit for the scheme." J-Lo, would you rather trade for a middle linebacker or a wide receiver? I'd rather trade for a middle linebacker. Nothing against KJ Britt, but he's a little slow in terms of pass defense. And J-Lo, we've been getting burnt right up his seam every damn pass play, it seems, lately.
Well, it kind of sucks because we're going to count on him this week, and last I checked, Kirk Cousins picked him apart in the middle. I think trading for a linebacker this week would have been more severity, but then unfortunately, because we're on a short week and we haven't made any moves, we're just going to have to go with what we got. I think J.J. Russell should get a shot in there
We've been
and see what
crying for that now for weeks.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Savasi Dennis, shoulder surgery, he's going to be out the rest of the year pretty much. So KJ Britt's all we got right now, and Bulls is going to have to scheme better, in the middle linebacker position because Britt's just not getting it done in the pass defense, and which is where we're getting picked apart like we did the last few games, realistically.
Yeah, if I could only pick one, give me a middle linebacker all day. Pepin Steppen, our favorite Canadian, says, hello from Jamaica. Jamaica's awesome and beautiful. You enjoy out there. You be safe, Steppen Pepin.
You're making me crazy.
Jamaican me crazy. We appreciate you tuning in from Jamaica. I've been there a couple of times lately on cruises. Beautiful place. Enjoy your time out there, but please do be safe. Devin White signed with the Texans. Yeah, they'll probably release him or just have him on their practice squad for a little bit. J-Lo, this is what I wanted. What you saying, Devin White?
Blitzing linebacker. That's all they're going to use him for. Just blitz and get to the quarterback.
Maybe they'll use him for, if he does get to the active, that's all they could use him for, because he's kind of like a KJ Britt in terms of letting up big pass plays as well.
They're twins, man. Except White's faster, but they're twins, man. They can't cover a damn cold.
Can't cover a damn cold. White's a little faster. Britt's a little better in the run game, but at the end of the day, they're just both not great middle linebackers at this phase of the game, and that's why Servachier Dennis being lost for this regular season. Todd Bowles said he could maybe be back by the playoffs, but Servachier Dennis was pretty much announced today to miss the regular season. J-Lo, and plus Richard says a friend sent me an article on Baker possible suspension for using a brand of e-cigarettes that's banned from the NFL. Any validity to that? So first and foremost, this is about as silly as that Panthers trading for Kyle Trask rumor that got circulated a couple weeks ago, who circulated that one. One of the Bucs big wigs in the media. So same thing is happening here. TMZ says NFL policy states this, but who knows if it's accurate or not. But it's a tobacco-free venue, and the Zin is tobacco-free, so they might say it's blah 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 by the NFL. But yeah, the NFL isn't going to ban Baker Mayfield or suspend Baker Mayfield for using a Zin on the sideline. J-Lo, that's all hearsay. That's called clickbait. That's called people wanting attention. Maybe a small fine, yes, but J-Lo, at the end of the day, they're not going to suspend a guy for doing that. They're going to not suspend guys for hip drop tackles. They're surely not going to suspend guys for using Zin on the sideline. And perfect example of that, Mike McDaniel took a hit of an e-cigarette last year as well, and he was perfectly fine. I think he might have just got a fine. But J-Lo, this is more hearsay. This is more nonsense just to stir the pot and get some clicks, just like the one article about Kyle Trask a couple of weeks back saying the Panthers should trade for him.
Yeah, just ridiculous. I mean, last I checked, he signed with Bud Light. I mean, that's the only thing I saw that was pretty cool. As far as that, that's very, I guess, new, but I wouldn't fall for whatever your friend sent you. Maybe he hit a clickbait. I don't think that's a big ordeal. I wouldn't even stress on it. I think right now we're more focused on him getting ready for the next game, which I think he's more focused on in some BS article that probably doesn't even be recognized.
Nope, and that's just all what it is. So, until we hear otherwise, it's just very, very funny. We do have some breaking news in the NFL. Robert Saleh has joined the Packers coaching staff, J-Lo.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, yeah, as a consultant, pretty much. I mean, to me, he's just a defensive coach, whether he's a defensive coordinator or not. I just didn't think that. I think he was like Todd Bowles in a very bad team. Let's be real here. The Jets are just not a good team. You can bring all these star players in, but they'll never live out to the amount that Tom Brady did down here in Tampa. That's just my opinion on that. I think Salah will get another coaching job, like I mentioned to you before on one of the pods about it. So at least he's got a job. He's got somewhere to go. And F the Jets.
Yeah, J-Lo, before we get to our upcoming schedule, our final word, just a couple other things we want to touch on. It's Creamsicle week. It's rivalry week, J-Lo. What amps you up more, the fact that we're wearing creamsicles or the fact that we got an NFC South rivalry battle for first place on the line this Sunday?
I say a first place battle with the Atlanta Falcons on a short week, and we're injured, down two receivers, which will make it challenging. And our defense got exposed. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know where some of these players were at Monday night, but I will say this just to clarify with the Bucs fans I've been hearing around chatting. We lost to a team in the Ravens to me that are probably either number one or number two in the NFL. You got to give them their flowers, their props, and how well they game plan, how they change everything up in the second quarter. So, but at least in this game, I think Bulls will have these boys ready to play on defense, get out to Kirk Cousins, because Cousins ain't going to be able to scramble worth his damn life on the line on that. So, I just think when it comes to the passing game is what worries me because Lamar just looked phenomenal throwing the ball the way he did against our defense.
Yeah,
There's a lot of go
he
ahead.
does all the time, but J-Lo, Monday was a little concern in the way that we looked out there, in pass protection, or I'm sorry, in pass defense against running backs and tight ends specifically.
Yes, unfortunately, we got exposed. The Ravens, pretty much changed some things up, and they were able to figure out how to beat us, and that's by throwing the ball on us. And then we gave that big run to Derrick Henry toward, third quarter or fourth quarter. I don't know when he had that big run, but
Fourth
at the end
quarter.
of the fourth quarter, thank you. That's how bad this game turned out to be. This defense just fell apart from that first drive where they went three and out. Well, no, I think they went three and out, but you know what I mean. They kept them out of our territory and got after him and set them twice. What happened? Like, where was that fire? Why did it disappear? You know, because Mark Andrews look like his old self, getting open on these plays. And Jordan Whitehead, I don't know what happened. He looked very lost out there. Hopefully, it was just a one
Him
bad
and
game.
Winfield both did
Just
have
prep.
bad games.
Absolutely. And plus, they went after Thunderberg more, for the most part. Yeah, they threw on the other side on Zion. But at the same time, Thunderberg got attacked a few times on his side of the field. So hopefully, that was his first game starting, correct, for Thunderberg?
Yep, first game starting. But I thought he held
So,
his own pretty well out there in terms of coverage.
best he could. Best he could. That's all I can really say. So now we're going up against an Atlanta team and Cousins who has Kyle Pitts who has some catches and touches and stuff like that. So for the most part, Pitts will be somebody I keep an eye on for the most part. I think Zion will hold his own against Drake London. Darnell Mooney, he'll be a key factor. The fact that we're playing this team again on a short week with injured players, it's going to raise a lot of questions, but I still think it's a very winnable game. I'm not too stressed on it. Defense just got to wake up and adjust on the pass game.
Too bad Todd Monken never called game. Yeah, it's a shame. He did get some head coaching interviews this year, but I think he's more of an OC than a head coach. Pepin Steppen says 27-21 Bucs will win. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the rivalry more than the creamsicle. Don't get me wrong, I love the creamsicle as I'm wearing it now. But anytime you have a first place divisional matchup rivalry game as such, J-Lo, it amps you up the further mile that much more, excites you for damn sure. That it does, my friend. Other than that, I did want to get to one other thing, the punting situation. Jake Camarda has been released by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It looks like he's done as a Buc. And the Bucs signed another punter today to the practice squad, undrafted free agent rookie, Mr. Browning. So, J-Lo, thoughts on Camarda's release and ultimate end of his tenure with the Bucs?
Unfortunate, he had such a bright future. His rookie season, he went off, and then some reason he just kind of felt the wagon toward the end of the year, going into this year. I just think Light should never draft a punter or kicker ever again. I just feel like it's just bad juju on that part. I'll trust Light, for most draft picks, but punter and kicker, let's not do that anymore. Just go take your chances in the free agent market.
Totally take chances when you can. Richard says another failed kicker. And remember, it's nothing new. Even the likes of Young Hui Kuz of the world failed in their first rodeo as a kicker at the next level. And then they found a new home and they acclimated. It wouldn't shock me if Camarda finds another home in a year or two, able to shake off the yips and ends up being successful. The Godfather, James Rubright. What's up, man? What's up, Godfather? How the hell are you doing? Hope all is well with you, my man. Always great to hear from you. Before we get to our final words of the program, once again, Duvin Design Co. releasing their creamsicle gear tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time at the team store in Raymond James Stadium at shop.buccaneers.com or at duvindesign.com. Attention Buccaneers fan, 8-piece creamsicle collection will be available by Duvin. You could keep up with them on Twitter at Duvin Design, Duvindesign, Duvin Design, or on Instagram at Duvin Design, where our friends make the best merch for the best teams. And we are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're one of the two. So I can't wait to get my Duvin merch. I will do an unboxing of it for everybody as well. It's going to be some good stuff there. J-Lo, final word for the program. Anything that you want to talk about that we might not have gotten to already? Could be Bucs-wise, could be Lightning-wise, could be Creamsicle-wise, Duvin merch, anything you want to talk about that we might not have yet that you might want to get to in your final word, brother.
Just want to put it out there that, yes, it was a very tough loss, but there's still so much football left, everybody. For all the Bucs fans that want to throw in the towel, jump ship, go ahead, jump. But jump. Don't let the freaking hit you in the ass when you jump. Because let me tell you, this team is far from done. I think there could be some adjustments. Kind of going back to last year, Tone, when we talked about it, 4-7, thought season was over, and guess what? We came back at a huge win streak. It's all it takes. And I trust Baker Mayfield can get the job done and get this team rolling. We got a tough next 3 games, but I think 2 out of 3 are very winnable, depending on how injury plagued the Niners are. But we'll get to that conversation when that time comes. But Atlanta's not scary. They're very beatable. You see how Kenneth Walker demolished them in the pass game and the run game. I watched some of that game. That was one of the games I kept a close eye on. So fans, don't throw in the towel. Give it time. I think this team has more than enough to get the job done to win a division. Just through these 3 hard schedules, and then after the bye week, it's a pretty winnable game situation for the rest of the way. It's just Bucs fans just gotta be patient. Don't
Yeah,
be
it
so hard on
surely is.
Bowles. And don't be hard on Bowles, man. I mean, let him coach, let him do his thing. And plus, Liam Cohen, let's see what he can really do coaching out there, for the most part. And like I said, Baltimore is a very great football team, and people need to respect that, and understand that. If they don't, then they can be homers all they want, but it is what it is. We got beat by a really good football team. It's not like we lost to a bad football team. We lost to a good football team. So
Yeah, one of the
that's all
best in the business. The Baltimore Ravens are. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders, clearly playoff contenders. Our guy, Bucs Nation, says, my guys, that's right. You never know. Just have to stay positive. There's no
Yes.
reason to give up on the season and move to next year. J-Lo and myself, when we lost every game last year, we still mapped the way to the playoffs because that's what we do best. We try and win games and see what happens. This Bucs team ain't going to fold anytime soon. We're going to continue to build through strength, come back stronger and stronger and stronger. Speaking of stronger, J-Lo, Saturdays always get stronger with the Buccateers as we have our Saturday showdown live every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, leading you right up to college football kickoff. We preview Bucs games, Colts games, give you in-depth analysis on fantasy football, gambling, college football, our Red Eyes Pick'em, which is our NFL picks in honor of the great Ken Rubright, who used to be a great listener of ours. So, J-Lo, you know where to find Saturdays and tell people where to go. Our Saturday showdown will be back this Saturday, brother.
Yes, we will. Fun treat Saturdays. They're fun show. We don't just talk Bucs, but we also talk about the world of college football and pretty much predict the other football games as well. We got the one awesome Joey Nips in here talking Colt football, spreading his knowledge on the college ball. So people on Saturday, tune in, throw your comments, questions. We'll be happy to answer them. And like and subscribe to Buccateers. Because we're here to talk football and Buccaneer football, but also here to talk about other things on Saturday when it comes to college football world. So tune in Saturday, everybody.
Yeah, I agree. We got a couple great comments as well. Richard says, time to see what McMillan has. Reminder, Godwin was a third. He's a third. That's exactly right. Trey Palmer was after a third. The Bucs have gotten a lot of lemonade from late round picks. Scotty Miller as well. Our guy Bucs Nation, I was there Monday night. I stayed till the end because I believed it takes time. Yes, sir, brother. You absolutely have the damn message right. Believe, believe, believe. Fight, fight, fight. Never give up and continue that fight until we make the playoffs, because that it is going to happen. We will make the playoffs, however the hell we get there. My final word is this: 10 a.m. tomorrow Eastern time, Duvin Design Co. releases some beautiful Creamsicle merch. Later this week or early next week, you could see some of the gear on my socials as well. But Mr. J-Lo, you have a great rest of your Wednesday night. Go Bucs, go Bucs, fire the damn cannons. Touchdown Tampa Bay, K-Dot and over the middle. Bucs win, Bucs win, Bucs win, Bucs beat the Falcons. J-Lo, you're like a brother, my man. Have a great night. I'll talk to you soon, my man. Go Bucs as always. We ain't jumping ship. Never a doubt.
No effing way we're not, man. Fire the cannons, and good days are coming, man. Go Bucs.
Go Bucs, go Bucs. We'll see you guys Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern on the Buccateers. J-Lo, myself, Joey Nips, Gene, and so much more, bringing you guys college, fantasy, Bucs talk, and the rest. See you guys. Until then, unless we have breaking news, then we'll be back sooner. But fire the damn cannons and go Bucs. We love you guys. Until next time, the Godfather says, go Bucs, go Indy, and go Bears. Yes, sir, Godfather. Yes, sir. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs, go Bears, go Colts. We love you, Godfather. We love you, everybody. Peace. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.